Hey guys, Drifter here. I finally got some good news about my health after 2 years here on this channel about complaining about a bizarre and voluminous range of symptoms. I finally got a real diagnosis and the treatment is simple and cheap and already working, and I'm starting to feel more like a normal human being. And it wasn't even a mental health crisis. I can't believe that. I thought that I had totally lost my mind. I was about to check myself into like some inpatient facility. But anyway, I have vitamin B1 deficiency, or thiamine deficiency, and it got bad enough to where it caused the disease beriberi, which is a very rare disease, especially in the first world. And essentially, you don't need very much vitamin B1 in your body, but when you don't have it, your nervous system kind of self-destructs and dies and creates a wide range of absolutely crazy symptoms that affect your mind, your heart, your kidney, pancreas, intestines, stomach, and in my case is the nervous system itself, which was shutting down function in my hands slowly but surely, and just tons and tons and tons of other crazy stuff. So we're going to go over a lot of that today, and I just wanted to say in the very beginning, if any of you watching this or any of the previous videos have ever experienced some of the symptoms that I've experienced, or felt that maybe you're similar to me or maybe something's wrong, I would strongly encourage you to get your vitamin B1 checked. Or if that test is going to be arbitrarily expensive, just go to the corner store, get yourself some cheap vitamin B1 supplements and start taking them, because the moment I did, I could feel life coming back into my body. So I popped over to Healthline to just give you a quick rundown, because this describes my recent suffering almost to a T. Early symptoms: loss of appetite. I admittedly wasn't very hungry when a lot of this was starting. I wouldn't say I wasn't eating, I would still eat, but I just didn't feel hunger like I used to. Then I got full body fatigue that left me feeling drained, like I was dying, like I was just exhausted all the time. And I thought it was a testosterone problem. Turns out it wasn't. I definitely was more irritable, more crazy, more grumpy on stream, difficult to be with here, more spicy opinions. It will damage your brain, unfortunately. And in my case, what I got is nerve damage. The side effect of prolonged severe thiamine deficiency beriberi is damage to the nerves, known as neuropathy. So tingling of limbs, yes. Loss of sensitivity in feet and fingers, yes. Muscle weakness, yes. Rapid heartbeat, not so much, only a tiny bit. Mental confusion, yes. Coordination problems, yes. Lower body paralysis, only slightly. My legs were kind of starting to get weak here near the end. I had a little bit of the blurry vision, nausea, vomiting, and very brief, in the absolute worst of it, I had very brief bouts of delirium. There's a bunch of other websites that talk about a bunch of different stuff that can happen. Decreased muscle function, you can have muscle wasting, you can have your nerves permanently damaged, your brain, your heart. It's just kind of all over the place because it makes your body self-destruct. The disease is known as the Great Imitator because it imitates so many other diseases. If you go to a clinic with the symptoms that I had, they would say, maybe you've got carpal tunnel from gaming, maybe you're gaming too much, not exercising, maybe you're getting diabetic neuropathy, maybe you have a concussion or contusion, maybe you're having a psychological breakdown and your somatosensory cortex is going crazy and it's feeling things that aren't there. Maybe you've got fibromyalgia, maybe you've got multiple sclerosis, some people even Ehlers-Danlos and things like that. And it's very, very rare that anybody checks on this because of how vitamin B1 works. And before we get into that, this is going to be a longer video because this pretty much is the story of my entire life, because I think I have been vitamin B1 deficient and dipping in and out of beriberi for my entire life. And the majority of my bizarre medical problems when I was a child and seeing ghosts and mental problems and nightmares and all that stuff are all classic symptoms of vitamin B1 deficiency, which is like, it's like getting a guidebook for everything that ever happened to you, every suffering you ever had. So, vitamin B1 is something that you don't need very much of. Barely over 1 milligram per day is all that any person will normally need. And in the Western world, and really in the world in general, there's tons of vitamin B1 in everything that we eat. A lot of fruits and vegetables, a lot of meat, especially stuff like pork and eggs, wheat bread, regular bread, even cheapo cereal like Captain Crunch and Pop-Tarts and just junk food is all fortified with vitamin B1 in order to help people avoid this kind of problem. So it's extremely rare that people get this disease, and it's even rarer still in the first world without other comorbidities. So most of the people in, we'll say, the Western world that develop beriberi do so because they are extreme alcoholics. They don't really eat anything other than alcohol. They're extreme diabetics and they're not processing food. People that have had gastric bypass surgeries, stomach cancers, that's one I got to get checked for soon. And sometimes people that are on extreme diets, devout vegans, people that are want to do gluten-free, or people that do the starvation diet to lose weight or things like that. They sometimes don't get enough. So it's very, very weird that I got this disorder. And kind of the next step is to figure out, in no uncertain order, why this happened, what was perhaps damaged permanently, because the prognosis is relatively good once treatment starts, but there is a chance of irreversible damage. Boy. And then the very intimidating prospect of doing a near full body recovery after years of muscle wasting is going to be very, very hard. So that's kind of the path that I'm on. Thankfully, the treatment is incredibly simple. Since my deficiency wasn't considered extreme, I had the mild version of this and it was bad enough to make me want to kill myself. All I have to do is take over-the-counter vitamins. That's it. Within 12 hours of starting to take vitamins, I started to feel like a normal human being again. And it's about a week later, and I couldn't tell you how much better I feel in my body. I would say 75 to 80% of my major symptoms and pains just dissipated within days. All of the, I would tell you, I'd have mood swings and confusion, anxiety, and all this stuff in my brain melted away, gone. I feel like I gained 10 to 20 IQ points. I feel like I'm more articulate, more active. That full body fatigue that drug me down into the abyss of not being able to do anything, that went away very quickly. Coincidentally, the name beriberi roughly translates in Sinhalese as I can't, which is exactly what I was saying to my friends and family this whole time. I can't do this, I can't do that, I don't have the energy, please no. I was doing the same thing in a different language. The big one for me, the real godsend, as I sat here and I complained about my hands having nerve pain and being hypersensitive to cold and weak and always aching and all that kind of stuff, that went away rapidly and is for the most part stayed away. I do still have minor hand pains. They do not feel the same. I suspect it's more of a muscle wasting, tendon damage kind of problem now, but that sensitivity to cold, guys, my house is like 80 degrees most of the time. If I were to walk into temperatures less than 74 degrees for maybe 30 minutes, I would start feeling extreme pain, extreme cold. It would really just eat my butt up. But now I can just go on a walk at night when it's 60 and I still feel warm and normal, and it's amazing. I almost forgot what it was like to be properly warm. So much stuff is changing. It's mostly in a good way. Even my back that I broke, and I may have broken because my muscles were wasting due to this stupid disease and then weren't healing because of this stupid disease, has literally already started to heal and the pain is already going down. And I don't know if it's ever going to go back to normal, but my God, it's already better. And it's almost like being reborn. It feels like madness. And the madness of this just continues the further I go down this rabbit hole. So we'll talk about mental health and a little bit of my health history. For my whole life, I have been considered crazy, ADHD, violent, psychopathic, psychosis. I got all the diagnoses, okay? They wanted to institutionalize me when I was young. I was seeing ghosts and demons and devils and monsters and paranoid and cranked and all these kinds of unpleasant things going on in my mind. It's a godsend that I didn't get institutionalized. And when all of this started, I went to doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor to try to find out what was going wrong. And pretty rapidly, doctors started noticing that I was going to too many specialists too often, and they increasingly recommended psychiatric care. You need psychiatric treatment. You are having, I think it's called somatic symptom syndrome or something like that, where your somatosensory cortex gives you phantom pains, or anxiety or ADHD converts into very weird pains that don't have any clinical presentations. And I eventually started believing it. I just gave in. I said, okay, I'm crazy. Sure, I've lost my mind. The anxiety and stress of being a YouTuber has just melted me and I've crumbled into a little pile of weakness. Give me meds. I went to a psychiatrist, more of the medical kind and less of the sit in the office and talk kind. And I talked to them for a minute and they told me that what I was describing could be a mental breakdown. It could be a somatosensory type problem. but was very weird. It was not something that they deal with too much, at least not the wide variety of symptoms, and some of them, like low testosterone, which is also caused by stupid vitamin B1, they wanted to get a more clinical look at it. So they sent me to a neurologist. I went to the neurologist. I told him all the problems, and the neurologist told me immediately, I don't think that you've lost your mind or you're having a mental problem. He's like, I genuinely think that you have a really bad nervous system disorder. And he told me, like, look, we're a normal, regular neurology office. I don't deal with the rare stuff. That's not my expertise. I'm going to refer you to I think it was a multiple sclerosis or multiple myeloma expert, and get checked for all these like super rare nervous system disorders. And he's like, look, it's going to be like a couple of months before you get that appointment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my best guess at all the weird tests they're going to have you do, and we're going to run those so that most of them will be done before you get to their office. Well, my vitamin B1 test was included, and it came back very low. The doctor called me an hour after the results came in, told me about it, and told me to immediately start taking supplements, and my life got better. But guys, I should have died. I should have died ages ago. This disease can kill you. It can stop your heart. It can cause your brain to swell and cause permanent brain damage. It can cause permanent paralysis. But worse than that, I've probably had this my whole life. As I started reading, this rabbit hole got weirder and weirder the deeper I went. It said things like, children that are born with vitamin B1 deficiency are often born jaundiced. That was me. Children with vitamin B1 deficiency are often having issues with ear infections and sinus infections. That was me. Children with vitamin B1 deficiency sometimes have swelling or increased pressure on their optic nerves. That was me. I was diagnosed with pseudotumor cerebri, but it was probably vitamin B1. I had abnormal development, puberty type development. That's a weird one to talk about. Cock and balls and sexuality is all pretty normal, but I'm not a hairy guy. I don't have hardly any facial hair or anything because my body couldn't process testosterone right because it had no vitamin B1. When I was a kid and I had extreme behavioral problems and I was hallucinating and seeing ghosts and devils and crazy stuff, probably vitamin B1. As an adult, I've always been skinny. I've always been weak. I've always been sensitive to cold and temperatures. I felt like when I would go to the gym, I would have to work 10 times harder and eat like 10 times more food than anybody else in order to gain a fraction of the muscle. And the moment I slowed down from full tilt just a little bit, that would melt away like it was nothing. Well, it's because it's muscle wasting, actual muscle wasting. I don't even know what to say. It's like getting a guidebook for my life. And I actually believe this might be a genetic thing. It's not really well researched from the genetic standpoint, so we don't know what genes cause it or not. I read about it, and apparently people that carry this gene sometimes don't get enough. But during pregnancy, it can cause pregnancies to fail, which I'm one of a very, very few of my mother's pregnancies that survived. And babies that are born often have SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, and things like that. I was a very sickly baby. I had a lot of problems. And it's mind-blowing to me. And everything that I did throughout my entire life made this worse. I mean, my family was poor. We didn't have any education. We lived on sugar. I would drink 12 Cokes a day. You know, crazy stuff like that. I had the optic nerve problem, and they give me diuretics, which is like pouring jet fuel on this problem and making it way worse. Or stuff like I would complain that I was cold when it was hot, and I would just get my butt whooped for that. Or I would be working on something and injure myself, or I'd have the drop hands or drop feet or shakes or whatever, and I would just get punished for being a weakling, a P word that I can't say here for demonetization purposes. And when I look at my family, on both sides, actually, and this is a really rude thing to say, average intelligence is low, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at my family tree, I can think of me and one other person out of about 15 or 20 that have normal or above normal intelligence, and most of the rest of them are significantly below normal. And that's because this stuff can damage your brain. I have aunts and uncles with extreme mental disorders, like institutionalized, maybe because of this. I don't know. I'm just like rambling at the moment. It feels so insane to me. I have no idea what to do with my life now. And this is kind of a part one update of what's going on. So the prognosis here is that if the damage isn't permanent to your mind or your heart or nerves, then simple vitamin supplementation and time will usually fix the problem. Most patients have a full recovery, which is really great news, but there is the lingering possibility that it could have damaged my heart. It could have damaged parts of my brain. My nervous system might be permanently damaged, other organs potentially. My muscles are totally screwed up, tendons and stuff like that too. So that's just a whole world of pain to deal with, but at least I can feel it normally instead of this bizarre, like hyper feeling, constant pain feedback I was always getting. So what we're trying to do now, I'm actually recording this before my follow-up. So if you see this video, that means the follow-up is roughly in line with whatever I said here. I've got to basically go do a bunch of assessments to see if anything was permanently damaged and if other work needs to be done. We need to find out why this happened to me. That's very important. It could be genetic. It could be, and I'm just going to be really blunt with this, fetal alcohol syndrome. Had some problems with that. It could be some of the ways that I was raised and brought up on just cheap food, a lot of sugar, bad diet, stuff like that. It could be because, and this is a topic I'm not going to discuss a lot in this video, when I was very young, some people did some very bad things to me and shoved a lot of things into every orifice of my body, and it was awful and painful, and that's a whole different video for a different time. I guess there's a chance that could have screwed up my stomach or colon or any guts, anything. I don't freaking know. It's all a big blank and question mark. And there's also the possibility that this may not have been the story my whole life, that all those other things just happened. And then as an adult, I got a vitamin B1 weakness because I'm going diabetic, because I've got stomach cancer, because there's a hole in my stomach, because of some complication with a medicine or something really rare like that. So we got to try to rule out anything that's super bad, try to get treatment, try to do rehab and recovery. And it's basically just great news. It's like getting a second lease on life. Guys, I was prepared to die. I thought I was dying. The whole time this was happening, I literally thought I was dying because I was dying and I knew it. And I would sit there and tell doctors the most bizarre things that made no sense and followed nothing, and get told that I'm having a mental breakdown, but I was right. Or things that helped, right? I literally told my doctors that anytime I would drink a protein shake and force myself to eat like 2 giant pork burritos or whatever, that I would feel better. And they thought I was absolutely out of my mind. Well, it turns out whey protein has a decent amount of vitamin B1, and pork has a ton, so does refined grains, and it wasn't absorbing, so just overeating is what kind of got me through all of this. And honestly, that's what I've been doing for the last year. That's probably why it didn't get worse, is I just decided to try to eat my way through this, because for months, I would eat like a freaking pig and just lose weight and get weaker and weaker and weaker. I wasn't crazy. I was having mood swings, ladies and gentlemen. I was getting detached from reality. I was getting anxiety, depression, paranoia, all those bad things from childhood were getting worse. And I was feeling completely insane, out of my mind, coming on YouTube, sucking it up for 15 minutes a day to look like a normal person here. And turns out that wasn't just me being a loon and having a breakdown. Those were hard biomechanical things happening in my body. And it is just a miracle from God in heaven and whoever it is that you want to pray to above, that it didn't just totally rot my mind. I can't even believe that I held on to the IQ scores and cognitive functioning that I did hold on to. My goodness, it's been insane here. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That's what I'm dealing with. It's largely positive. I guess I get to live. The odds of me dying immediately if something terrible have gone way down. At least it'll be slow now if it's a heart problem or something. Oh my God. What does that mean for me personally though on this channel? I don't know. I got to be realistic with you that I have almost no muscle mass, and I still have various things out of balance and problems and doctors and stuff to go to. So it's probably doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to jump back into gaming and YouTubing and stuff full time, but it does mean that over the next, optimistically, 3, maybe 12 months, that I can rebuild the strength and muscles and all that stuff and do more normal human being things. Unfortunately, the journey that I've been on the last 2 years has changed who I am as a person, both with me on an emotional level. I should probably go to therapy for all of this. It's terrible. but also how I'm perceived in the community here on this channel. I was the numbers guy. I was the in-depth guy. I was the boring guy sometimes. And I was deep into Call of Duty, deep into gaming, everyday videos. And over the last couple of years, that dwindled down to almost nothing. I'm no longer an expert at Call of Duty, no longer even good at the game. I'm not really gaming hardly any, to be honest. Right now, I'm saving my strength. I'm going to want to do a Cyberpunk playthrough so bad. And also, I don't think that my behavior throughout all of this is exactly what you would consider ideal. I think it was actually excellent considering what it was all going on, but it was a really bad look. I'm now known as kind of the crazy person in the community, the COD guy that lost his mind. Other communities, like PKA community and all that, think I've just totally lost it. And people don't see me the same. Some of the audience has moved on to other creators that provide similar things that I used to. And I'm going to be forced to reinvent myself, which is going to be a very difficult process, but I honestly can't wait. At least I get the opportunity to do so. At least I'm not just going to keel over. So that's kind of a rant. I really, I had this whole like little outline here and I just ignored all of it and just went straight in for how it feels. So, yeah, I'm going to live. And it wasn't crazy. I can't believe it. All right, guys, that's all for this update. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, and check your vitamin B1. Drifter out.